A murder suspect is back behind bars tonight after the Newport News City Jail let him go.
At the center of the story, a mix-up between jurisdictions and a mother determined to do the right thing. Andy Fox has been untangling this web of confusion in a 10 on Your Side investigation. Andy.
Nicole and Tom, you could call this report the anatomy of a wrongful release. Eric Nixon, who is now 18, is in jail for the high-profile murder of Raphael Davis at the Hampton Coliseum Carnival in May. As you'll see in this exclusive investigation, no matter how hard he tried, Eric Nixon could not convince his jailers to keep him locked up.
I says, but I just need to just hold him for a little while. I says, you don't know how difficult this is.
Alfreda McCoy loves her son Eric Nixon so much she would end up taking him back to jail. He was locked up at the Newport News Juvenile Detention Center on 10 felonies, including first-degree murder. While he was there, he got in a fight and was charged with misdemeanor assault and battery. On September 12th, Nixon turned 18. Since he was now an adult, the Hampton Juvenile Intake Supervisor ordered him sent to the Hampton City Jail. Red flag number one, Hampton Jail Administrator Major Stephen Rich says he got the request for transfer that listed Nixon's Hampton felonies, but refused to accept them because there wasn't a commitment order to lock him up. He was delivered, you knew about the charges, and yet you would not admit him into your jail because you didn't have the paperwork.
This, sir, is only enough to transport him, not enough to remand him into custody.
Instead of trying to correct the paperwork problem, Major Rich's deputies took Nixon to the Newport News Jail with this commitment order for the misdemeanor assault. Red flag number two, on that form it states charges pending in Hampton criminal, but does not say what type of charges. Newport News Sheriff Gabe Morgan thinks Hampton should have kept Nixon on the Hampton felony charges. Don't pass the buck. You have said those trump anything else that's a misdemeanor.
That is correct.
So he should have been kept in the Hampton jail, yes?
You are absolutely correct.
On October 9th, a Newport News judge orders Nixon released on the assault and battery charge. In this exclusive interview, Eric told us what happened next.
They came and told me I was going home.
Red flag number three, Nixon tells Newport News deputies he faces a murder charge in Hampton.
But I was going to Hampton. They was like, no, you going home.
Did you tell them, no, I'm not supposed to go home, I'm supposed to go to the Hampton jail?
Yeah.
Mr. Nixon told us, hey, I'm not supposed to be released.
Yeah, but wasn't it a red flag when he was telling you that?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Red flags up, Sheriff Morgan runs Nixon's name through a national database that showed no outstanding warrants.
So we went one step further. We reached out to the Hampton Sheriff's Office, their records division.
Sheriff Morgan's own records show the Hampton jail told his office no charges in Hampton, no pending per Hampton Records Department.
Well, our record section, which they noted, it closes at 5 o'clock, sir. We have nobody there at 5 o'clock.
Well, then that's a good thing because Newport News called Hampton, according to Newport News records, at 4:16 p.m., 45 minutes before quitting time at the Hampton jail.
They never called us, sir. And we did contact.
So you're disagreeing with the sheriff?
I'm just saying
Morgan.
we have no documentation. I can't state. I'm not saying. I'm just saying that we have no documentation stating they called.
Not only that, Major Rich blames Newport News for releasing Nixon, even though Rich knew for nearly a month that there was a problem and he did nothing about it. So you're not taking any responsibility for this?
We had no documentation.
You don't need documentation. You had knowledge. You had law enforcement knowledge that he had been indicted in your court system on 10 felonies. Did you tell them, no, I'm not supposed to go home, I'm supposed to go to the Hampton jail?
Yeah.
And then what did they say to that?
Just took me down there, gave me my clothes, and then I waited for a little bit and I had to sign out.
Released from jail, on the street with nowhere to turn, Eric calls mom.
I says, hello? And it's Eric. He's sounding all panicky and stuff. He says, Mom, they let me out.
After a short reunion, it would be mom who would fix what the legal system broke and would turn in her son.
I says, Eric, yeah, you have to go back.
With plenty of blame to go around, the only thing the Hampton and Newport News sheriff's offices agree on is who ultimately botched the case. Intake Supervisor Jonathan Robinson and the Hampton Juvenile Intake and Probation Office that failed to produce the necessary paperwork to ensure Nixon remained incarcerated. I'm looking for Mike Morton. Robinson refused to take our calls, but his supervisor, Director Mike Morton, said he would make a statement.
Mr. Morton called me back, said that he was in the middle of a meeting, that he could not get away at this time.
We called Morton from the lobby. Because everyone's blaming you all for not producing the paperwork that would keep this man in jail.
I'm aware that I have to get permission to speak to anyone from the media, and I did not get that permission.
So for his own safety, Nixon is now in the Hampton Roads Regional Jail in Portsmouth. It's interesting to note, Hampton Juvenile Intake, the ones blamed for botching this, are claiming confidentiality. In notes we obtained from the Newport News Sheriff, it is clear on the night that Eric Nixon was released, Juvenile Intake was scrambling to get the paperwork completed so Nixon could be accepted into the Hampton jail. Almost a month too late. I'm Andy Fox, 10 on your side.